Hello, greetings everyone. My name is Dr. Deidre Sorrell and I am a licensed professional counselor, school psychologist, and also your reigning Mrs. Black Maryland International Ambassador 2020. Welcome to another episode of Managing Anxiety in the Storm, where I talk about all things anxiety and mental health related. Today I have a wonderful special guest with me. His name is Mr. Paul Bashea Williams, and he is the owner of Hearts and Minds Counseling practice in the Maryland, DC area. He is a licensed social worker, and he's also the author of Dear Future Wife, a man's guide and a woman's reference to healthy relationships. He has been on the Sister Circle program. He has been on the Husbands program. And he's been on the local news, so he is a local celebrity, everyone. And he describes himself as an intellectual intellectual emotionalist. So without further ado, I want to introduce Paul Bashea Williams. Thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about this. Always excited to work with you. Whenever you have a project, you know I'm always down. So I appreciate you contacting me to be a part of it.
Of course, of course. We're going to have an awesome show today. So I just want to jump right into the topic. But before I do that, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what sort of led you to entering the counseling field?
Sure. I was born in the Bronx and I moved in the hood, of course, the projects, we call it projects. And then I moved to another hood in Virginia, Suffolk, Virginia. And then I moved to Maryland. All were low-income housing. And so what we needed was someone to help us. We needed a place to talk. We needed a place for peace. We needed a place for resources and all those different things. And they always had different people in our communities that didn't look like us that was trying to help us. So a lot of us weren't receptive to it. And I think around maybe 6th grade, we had a guy, still my mentor today, a close friend. He's a white, redheaded man who said, you know, I shouldn't be in your company. I mean, in your community helping you, you should. But while I'm here, I'm going to help you and encourage you to go into the field because it's not what you think. And so from that point on, knowing that my friends came to me for resources, knowing that family, you know, always came to me for answers and different things and support, whether it's emotionally or mentally, I kind of fell in love with it. But when I first heard about it, I didn't think there was any money in the field. So I said, there's no way that I'm going to be a part of the social work field. And so I think it was my freshman summer, I was working at a therapeutic camp with my mentor at the time. And I started out doing some admin stuff. And by the end of the camp, I was a counselor. I said, this is it. And then the next step, when I went back to school, I took a marriage class and I said, I want to do everything relationships. I want to focus on relationships and helping people. And so from that point on, I just moved forward and got my bachelor's, master's, clinical license. And that's why I'm here today. And that's how I got here today.
Awesome. And, you know, it just sounds like what you did was you just felt led into something that just came naturally to you. Yeah. So that's not only your career, but your calling, it sounds like.
Absolutely. The purpose was already put in me and all I had to do was submit. And once I did that, it was sky's the limit.
I love that. Yeah, when God puts it on your heart, you obey, you submit. Yeah. That's right. So what led you to want to write the book, Dear Future Wife?
So like I said, I love everything about relationships. You know, growing up in those types of neighborhoods, you see a lot of divorce, you see a lot of failed relationships, failed marriages, you see a lot of single parent households, you see, you know, dad's not in the family, you see all these broken relationships and broken homes, and nobody knew what to do. Nobody had the resources because your parents couldn't teach you because their parents didn't teach them. So it was generational brokenness when it came to the Black family. And so what I wanted to do is, from the brokenness, I wanted to create something that was beautiful. I wanted to create something that was beautiful, not in the sense that's perfect, but it's processed. So if you see something broken, you put the pieces together. So how can I contribute to everyone who will follow me, who will lead or listen or hear or read anything that I have, to at least inspire hope? I'm not saying it's going to fix it, but at least inspire hope and say there's an opportunity past what you see and past what you're used to. And what happened was my idea of that relationship, I tried to give to everyone I met, everyone I dated. And so I didn't get a chance to really get to know myself because I was putting myself in this husband role. So I was putting myself in this perfect person, like accepting anything when it came to whether somebody was disrespectful, abuse. Like I was like, no, there's a way I can fix this. So I had this idea that I can fix every relationship. And so I had a failed relationship in college that was really devastating to me because I felt like I gave everything that I could, everything that I should, everything that I read. I'm supposed to do my research at that particular time. And from that point on, I said, you know what? It's not safe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write what I want. I'm going to write what I feel needs to happen in a relationship. I'm going to write what men need to do in order to heal themselves before they get into a relationship. So it was therapeutic for me to write and really address what I was feeling, what I was going through, and also give tips and advice to other men and other women as well. So we're having a conversation and somebody asked me a question, I would try to figure out a way to kind of process that and help them really understand it through my writing. So my book is literally a connection of experiences of mine, friends, other men, also different research, the questions that were asked online to me, questions that I asked in my practice, different things, just how to manage relationships and also manage yourself and really learn yourself.
Right. And the book is so needed. It's definitely needed, yeah, in our community, because like you said, you know, we have to break certain patterns, certain generational patterns that were learned. So, okay.
Right.
All right. So, you know, the topic is, you know, loving someone with a mental illness. And I really wanted to discuss this after watching one of the episodes of Insecure. One of the main characters on Insecure started dating a man, and he started behaving in a way that she didn't quite understand. And then she found out that he was suffering from bipolar disorder. And I thought about that, like how, you know, it would be great to have a discussion about this, but especially with people of color in mind, you know, specifically Black people. So is it possible to have a successful relationship with someone with a mental illness?
Absolutely. It's definitely possible. One of the things that, because I see couples, or maybe one who's suffering from a mental illness, and what I try to convince and support the other person is saying they're not responsible for the treatment process, they're just responsible for the support. They also need to set up boundaries when they know that it's too much. And now that puts the patient back on the responsibility of their healing. And so they know that they have somebody that's supportive as opposed to against them, as opposed to that's responsible for them. Because you can develop a level of codependency where you just minimize what the other person is experiencing, the other person who doesn't have the mental illness, where you say, well, you said you're going to be here for me. This is my mental illness. You need to love it or leave it. Those types of things happen within the relationship. But truthfully, we can't use our mental illness as an excuse. We also can't abuse the person that's supporting us through that. And we also can't put the whole dependency on us to care for someone who is suffering from mental illness. Now, education is important, right? Education is supporting your partner to go get the help that they need. Supporting your partner, find out what their schedule if there's on medication, you know, supporting them with their medication regimen, supporting them with their treatment process. Also, they can be included with a session with their therapist and say, hey, let's talk together and see what this looks like for me to be supportive of my partner who's suffering from mental illness. So you want to have all-inclusive type of treatment where, you know, the partner knows what's going on and also the patient knows what the partner can do and what they're not responsible for.
Right, right. That's a very good point, because I would imagine that in some relationships, the person with the mental illness may think, oh, this person, my girlfriend, my boyfriend, my husband, my wife, my partner, this person is going to cure everything that I'm dealing with. They're going to cure the depression. They're going to cure the anxiety. They're going to be sort of like that savior that rides in. And that's so much, it's unrealistic, and there's so much pressure to put on that partner. Right, right. Yeah, absolutely. And then of course, on the other hand, the partner has to be supportive and understand the role in managing that mental illness. So
Right.
when dating, when should the diagnosis be disclosed? Say, for example, you're starting to date a young lady, and this hypothetical, you have a diagnosis, and when is a good time to reveal that?
I think when symptoms become evident. So if symptoms become evident and you say, hey, this is something that I'm managing, again, you're not putting the responsibility on the person that you're dating. So if I, as I say, like I'm managing anxiety, if I'm just dating someone, I don't need to come and announce myself like I'm anxious, I have anxiety, because that sets the tone of where the conversation is. And if they're not educated on it, everything that you do, it might be connected to what you announced. So if I'm dating someone and then we start to get serious, maybe let's have a conversation what that looks like. You know, what it looks like when I get anxious. I can talk about my symptoms. I can talk about how it impacts me and how it might impact us. And then we can talk about how can we manage it together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very good. Very good. So, and again, like you said, it's so important for that partner to be supportive and to be educated. So what are some good ways, and I know that you touched on this earlier, but what are good ways that the partner can get that information and kind of become knowledgeable so that they can be the right support and not be codependent in a sense?
Yeah, I think, of course, doing your own education when you do your own research is part of it, right? But I also think it's so crucial for you guys to maybe do some research together, because if you do something, you look online and say, these are the symptoms of that particular diagnosis, maybe the person that you're with doesn't have those symptoms.
Mm.
And then now, so you're thinking that this person will show up like this, or you might think that this person is what you read as opposed to really understanding the person that you're with. So let's have a conversation. We do some research together and say, this is what it looks like. This is what happens. Yes, I can relate to that. No, I don't really have these things going on. But also, again, include them in the process. Even, you know, we can tweak the treatment plan, which includes, you know, your partner as a resource. And so you don't have to give your partner the whole treatment plan. No, that's not what I'm saying, but you can put them as, you know, one of the resources and one of the things that you can do in the treatment plan.
Mm-hmm.
You get education all around, education by yourself, education with your partner, and possibly being a part of the treatment process through meeting with the therapist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Good points. Good points. So with us dealing with COVID right now, and then on top of that, dealing with a lot of the I would like to describe it as awakening in terms of the issues with racism that we're having in this country and also in this world. Racism isn't something that just started this year. This has been going on for centuries and centuries, but people are starting to notice it and people are starting to protest and take action. So how would you say the quarantine and that has impacted relationships, especially if you're dealing with a relationship where someone has a mental illness?
So there's so many different layers, but a lot of things have been expedited in relationships since quarantine. A lot of things have been, you know, put in the forefront of what's happening with the relationship. We no longer have our escapes. We no longer have our time away. We no longer have our things that we choose or use to avoid specific issues. So now we're forced to face them because we don't have our outlets. So what's been happening is people are really starting to see if I really want to be with this person. And then you have to answer the real questions because you can't escape again. So I've seen so many different things. I've seen couples go from struggling because they've avoided things and then started talking about things. And now they really understand each other. So their relationship got better. And I've seen couples who lived in that avoidance. And once they had to sit in front of each other, no longer realize that things aren't as good as they are. They realize that maybe we need to re-examine and we look at this relationship and see if it works. So I've seen relationships do both. I've seen relationships go from good to great, from good to bad, from bad to worse. All types of things have happened in this relationship because we have to have the real conversations now. We really have to really talk. We really have to really examine And when couples are in, tense moments or in disconnect, they're examining everything like scientists. Like they are looking at every single thing you do because it's in front of you. Again, the little things become huge because you haven't learned how to manage them when they were small.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Such good points, because this year has really illuminated everything that as society that we've tried to hide from or tried to hide. Um, it's almost like pushing things, you know how you would put a lot of stuff in your closet and you have too many clothes in there and you're putting this bag in there, and then all of a sudden everything just kind of comes tumbling out. And I think that's what 2020 has been, not just for our society, but also in our relationships, because we are quarantined together. We are seeing those things that may have like gotten on our nerves a little bit before. Now it's like huge and we got to deal with it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Self-care looks different now. Again, someone who manages their symptoms with self-care that consists of things outside the house. It consists of traveling, and they can't travel anymore. It consists of car rides or going to the store or doing whatever they do, like going to the gym, and all those things are stripped from them. So now we have to revise the treatment plan. Or, I used to see, well, I still see some people, but they were used to coming to the office because they can sit and leave everything in the office. But now they have to find a place in their home that's not so private to have a session. And so, you designate this time and space to be private for your session, and then your partner walks in. Then you have the argument about respect my time, respect my space, and all these different things that happen within, this quarantine and within these relationships that really, again, you said like illuminated, yet been expedited to, we have to do the work now. We can't avoid it.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're even seeing with our celebrities some things that they have been going through that they've kind of hidden, but now we're seeing that, that we all are dealing with things in these times.
Yeah,
absolutely. So tell everyone how they can get in touch with you if they possibly want to seek therapy services, or if they want, how can they get your book as well?
So you can get my book either on Amazon or everywhere books are sold. You can also get it at my website, which is BasheaWilliams.com, and you go to the shop of Bashea, and there you can get a signed book. Also, if you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram as Bashea Williams, Facebook, Bashea Williams, everywhere, Bashea Williams, LinkedIn, Paul Bashea Williams. If you're looking for therapy, I'm actually full now, and I'm going on vacation for a couple of weeks. But you can find it at heartsinmindcounseling.com. And there you can see what my schedule looks like, what my calendar looks like, and see if you can book an appointment. So anywhere, again, if you want to find me, it's BasheaWilliams.com. And definitely go get the book, Dear Future Wife, A Man's Guide and a Woman's Reference to Healthy Relationships. And in this book, it's not just a read, it's also a workbook. So it gives you an opportunity to work on yourselves, to answer some questions. It's a clinical perspective, and then it's just a really understanding, so you can do work. You can do work if you're single, if you're dating, if you're courting, if you're married, if you're divorced. The book is for you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for discussing this topic on my show. This is so necessary. It's something that everyone can relate to, because those of us who are in relationships, married or looking for relationships, it definitely applies. So thank you so much for this.
No
Are there any last words that you have before we end the show?
I'm trying to think of something profound to say. Well, I'll just say my quote that I live by. You either commit to your breakthrough or you submit to your breakdown.
Wow. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. We have to be proactive and stay on top of our issues, stay in front of our issues, because if we cover things up and if we ignore things, they can tear us down. They can tear us down when we least expect it. Absolutely. Right. So thank you again for being here. And I want to thank everyone for listening to another episode of Managing Anxiety in the Storm. Please feel free to comment, ask questions, and I will also forward them on to Bashea if, you know, and we can provide answers and things like that to you. So I will see you for the next episode, and take care and be well.